Thanks to General Barr, Brady material relating to Flynn has been released. So too has the Flynn transcript with the Russian ambassador. Those materials include records that show, one, the FBI planned to close the Flynn case until Strzok interceded. Two, that FBI notes that show the FBI may have deliberately set Flynn up to prosecute him or get him fired. Three, the FBI had no derogatory information on Flynn. And four, there was no legitimate factual predicate to interview him. Mr. Rosenstein, you and Mueller withheld these records from Congress and Flynn's legal team. In June of 2018, I met with you to discuss the Flynn case and my other oversight request. You suggested to me that Congress should be satisfied with the facts contained in the plea agreement. In light of all the Brady material that has finally been released, it's clear you were misleading me, Congress, and the American people when you suggested that we should be satisfied with Flynn's plea agreement. Question. The whole point of the Mueller investigation was to uncover interference in the 2016 election. Yet Mueller ignored the fact that intelligence reports from before he was appointed said the Steele dossier contained Russian disinformation. Remember, that's the same dossier that was paid for by the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. Did you instruct Mueller to investigate the originals, the origin of the dossier? And if not, why not?
Thank you, Senator. First of all, I certainly did not intend to mislead you or anybody else. And if I could just address that briefly, because I do recall that conversation, Senator, and my view was that the case was pending in court. And there's a longstanding principle of the department that when a case is pending in court, we let the judicial process work through, and we don't engage with Congress about pending cases. And that's the only reason why I was reluctant to disclose information, not that I was concealing anything. I obviously didn't know that there was exculpatory evidence. And with regard to the evidence that's in the record now, because it was filed by the department, I'm not going to express any opinion about that. I'm going to wait and hear what General Barr has to say about it. But much of that, Senator, was news to me. With regard to the other question you asked, Senator, keep in mind that my goal with regard to the special counsel was to keep that investigation focused and get it resolved as expeditiously as possible. I knew that an investigation of the Steele dossier and the origins of the Russia investigation would be far more complicated and take far more time. And I didn't believe, and I don't think General Barr believes, we need an independent special counsel from outside the department to do that. General Barr is trusting U.S. Attorney Durham to do that, and I think that's a reasonable decision. So no, I did not ask Director Mueller to do that, and I'm actually grateful that we wrapped up the special counsel phase in 22 months, and if there's other information to be uncovered, I'm confident it will be uncovered.
Okay. When you approved the fourth and final FISA against Carter Page, were you aware that intelligence reports warned that the Steele dossier was a product of Russian disinformation? Were you also aware that the Steele's report were not fully verified and that some of Steele's sources supported Clinton? If so, why did you approve the FISA?
No, I did not. And if I could explain, Senator, I know the time is limited, but the Steele dossier is not in the FISA. It was not submitted to the court. There's information from Steele that's in the application. But my understanding, and again, I reviewed a lot of FISA applications during my tenure, my understanding is that what's in the affidavits is verified. And so the Steele dossier and all the nonsense that was in the media about these allegations that have been made, that's not in the FISA application. What's in the FISA application, my understanding, was verified information. And of course, there is other information. It's not just information that came from Mr. Steele.
Let me please get to one final point. My time's just about out. On May the 9th, 2017, you wrote a memo to Attorney General recommending Comey termination. That same day, the president terminated him. On May the 12th, you sent an email to Mueller that said, quote, "The boss and his staff do not know about our discussions," end of quote. On May the 16th, the day before you appointed Mueller, you emailed a former Deputy Attorney General and said, quote, "I am with Mueller. He shares my views. Duty calls. Sometimes the moment chooses us," end of quote. When you referenced the boss, who were you referring to? And did you discuss appointing Mueller with any Obama administration officials? If so, who?
Thank you very much, Senator, for asking that question. You know, as a criminal investigator, we found emails were very useful evidence, but sometimes they can be misleading because they're out of context. And if you allow me the time to explain both of those emails, the first one refers to the fact that I had talked to Director Mueller about the possibility, if I found it necessary to appoint a special counsel, whether he would be available. It was really determining whether I had that option. I had not made a decision whether to appoint him. And Jeff Sessions, as many of you know, is one of the most principled people I've ever met in Washington. He recused from that investigation. His position was, "I'm not going to discuss it. I'm recused from the investigation." So what happened there was that General Sessions had reached out independently to Director Mueller to ask him to come in for advice about whether to, about a new FBI director. There are a lot of things going on at the department at that time. One of them was the appointment of a new selection of candidates for a new FBI director. And so that hasty email, which I know some in the media have misconstrued, I was simply alerting Director Mueller, when you talk to the boss, Attorney General Sessions, keep in mind he doesn't know anything about the Russia investigation. And it's an example, Senator, of how these things can be misconstrued. It's actually a very innocent email. Same thing with the other one, and that's a little bit longer of a story, but it also related to the search for an FBI director. I believe when I sent that email, I was actually in the White House counsel's office. I was meeting with the deputy White House counsel, and we were talking about potential candidates for FBI director. And I had been speaking with the former deputy attorney general you have in mind, trying to encourage him to apply for the job. And he was resistant, he was reluctant to apply for the job. And I was actually lobbying to get him to apply for the job. In fact, I asked Greg Katzis to call one of our former attorneys general to talk to the former deputy attorney general and encourage him to apply. I think when I said I'm with Mueller, I meant that literally, that Mueller was with me at the White House. And when I said you need to step up, I meant he needed to step up. I was encouraging him, the former deputy attorney general, to step up and apply to be FBI director. So it's a completely innocent email. I certainly understand out of context how it looks nefarious, but I can assure you, Senator, I've been in the department, I had been in the department for 30 years. Those emails are all preserved. I wouldn't be putting anything nefarious in emails. Hopefully I wouldn't be saying anything nefarious at all, but certainly wouldn't be putting it in email.
Senator Lay.